The finals of Super Twins Street 1 and the repeat of the Ultimate Streetbike 4-stroke twin final from earlier in the day. Dave Butler brings the Triumph Matisse out to the start line against the Ducati Passo of Maz Kubicki. A little bit more of that start line psychology, and away he goes. And Maz Kubicki takes the win, staying firmly in that low 11-second time slot. We ran a second bracket of Street 1s because of the size of the entry, and this is the final. Nigel Mason with his Bonneville against Mark Ray, similarly Triumph mounted. Mark Ray running in the low 13s and Nigel running personal bests of mid 12s. But just look what happens. Just as he gets away, the crankshaft and the trusty Triumph brakes and throws the flywheels straight through the bottom of the machine. The cast iron flywheel has broken into many pieces and has shattered every casing at the bottom of the motor. Fortunately, Nigel had the presence of mind to move to the side of the track as soon as it happened and minimised the amount of oil on the track. But there was quite a bit of oil and a lot of debris. There the start line marshal throws a piece of crankshaft to the side of the track. This did give us a problem, however, because we cannot race on oil, and the crew had to work hard to clean the track up and leave enough time for us to complete the rest of the finals. We move on into the Street 2 category, and Mark Newcomb with the Harley is racing Lee Durham with the 1009cc XS650 Yamaha. Lee Durham was running high 11s and Mark Newcomb low 12s, so we were looking for a close race. As it turned out, Mark Newcomb got into problems fairly early on in the run, but he had the consolation of winning the Super Twin Series for Street 2. In the competition bracket, Tom Pels from Holland with his Harley Pro Stocker had qualified number 1 at 8.98. But on this run, he actually broke the rear engine mountings on the frame and so was sidelined from competition for the rest of the day. He should have been racing this man, Bernd Kramer, in the semi-finals. Bernd's from Berlin, and he was over officially to run in the Street 2 category, but he had an off-board starter, and that's not allowed in our rules, so we moved him into competition. He wasn't disappointed with that, because he went on to run 10.92 with the machine on street tyres, and that's a personal best for him. He was due to meet in the final, the winner of this semi-final, and it's an all-Triumph affair. Or should I say Nourish and Triumph. Tim Clark with the Top Cat 2, 900cc Nourish Westlake. And he's racing Martin Wilmot with his 500 Triumph. A very, very famous and interesting machine here. This is the ex-Peter Wood 500 Triumph, and is in fact still the fastest 500 in the world, having run 8.73 at 153 miles an hour about 10 years ago with Peter on board. Martin has had the bike for just a few months and is now really coming to terms with the thing, actually getting down as quick as 9.3 seconds here at Avon Park at this meeting. And he powers through to meet Bernd Kramer in the Super Twins final. Our Scandinavian visitors had put on a great show, with Anders Carling shown here, qualifying number 1 at 7.95 seconds, and he had stayed on that 7-second pace right the way through. His opponent in the semi-finals is Goran Karlsson with his nitro-burning 1576cc Harley. Goran had qualified at 8.49 seconds. The increase in performance of all these Harley machines over last year was down to the fact that they now all had transmissions. Last year, only Charlie Carling had a multi-speed transmission and everybody else was running single gear high-speed transmission. Now they all had transmissions and wasn't the performance difference showing. Charlie Carling stayed on his 7-second pace, this time 7.87, to go through to the final. Where he would meet this man, Lars Wahlberg. Lars should be racing Thomas Furberg, who had qualified at 8.21. But unfortunately Thomas's bike was broken, and so Wahlberg solos into the final, running 8.03 on the way. The Wahlberg Harley is a colossal 1989cc. Now we move back to the National Super Twins class, and this is the final. Martin Wilmot racing the Street 2 machine, really, of Bernd Kramer. So 10.9 second street bike races 9.3 second competition machine. Despite the better start, Bernd Kramer has no real answer to the performance of Martin Wilmot's Triumph, and he continues on his low 9-second progress to take the win. Now back with the Scandinavian machines, and as you can see they're sharing a starter. In fact, Lars Wahlberg used to ride the Anders Carling machine when they operated as the same team. So they're friends off the track. But there will be no quarter given during this final. Both machines have run in the 7s, although so far only Anders Carling had run 7s at Avon Park. Both machines now interestingly running Bentec transmissions, and they're made by Per Bengtsson, the lone Triumph rider who came over with the Scandinavian Super Twins. So both machines make long smoky burnouts in preparation for the final of the Super Twins demonstration. Both of these bikes are running 90% nitromethane through a Hilborn injection system, and both running similar transmission and tyre setups. So a very evenly matched race. They launch together, but Anders Carling gets into some problems and gets desperately close to the guardrail, and it's Lars Wahlberg that takes the win with a slower time, but they both run 7s, side by side 7-second runs from the Harley demonstration machines. The ACU UK Drag Bike Championship is the pinnacle of national motorcycle drag racing and the series that everybody wants to win. We have already seen the Super Street class. Now we move into the competition bikes. Semi-finals, and this is Chris Hall, and he's racing Alan Jeffries, and they're both on Kawasaki's. Alan Jeffries with a turbocharger, and Chris Hall nitrous oxide injected. This is the first time we've seen Alan for a couple of seasons, and he came out and ran good low 8s on the Kawasaki machine, and he's now caught the bug and is frantically building for next year. In this semi-final he shows he's lost none of his old start line reactions, getting a good hole shot over Chris Hall, but Chris Hall powers past at the finish line and just takes the win. The second semi-final shows our reigning comp bike champion Martin Peck, and he's racing another guy who's not been around for a while, and that's Barry Eastman. Probably one of the better known competition machines in the country, the Tokyo Express Honda CBX, which has had no end of gearbox problems. But now Barry's sorted it out and is out there enjoying himself and running low 8s again. Martin Peck has the 1700cc nitrous injected Suzuki, and he's well down in the sevens. Both bikes get away cleanly, but the superior power of the Suzuki takes Martin through to the final. Both of the finalists are running nitrous injected machinery. Chris Hall 1393cc Kawasaki and Martin Peck with this mountain motored 1700cc Suzuki. And Martin Peck has to be the favourite for the final. Another clean start, and once again Martin takes the win. The ACU Competition Bike Championship goes to Gordon Diggins, however, and he was eliminated earlier in the day. Now we move on to the Pro Stock class, and this is Wayne Saunders. He was our number one qualifier in the very low eights, and this is the only time he's appeared in the ACU Championship this year. He is of course our reigning Pro Stock champion, but he's chosen to race only in Europe and America so far this year. And there you see a real state-of-the-art Pro Stocker, 1260cc, Star Racing motor, and a real 7-second runner. The next pair are Graham Dance and Cole Rule. Cole is one of 3 runners that can win the ACU Championship at this meeting. The points are that close at the top of the table. Graham has had a fairly checkered year so far, with quite a bit of engine damage at mid-season. He's back out for the finals because it's important to achieve a good position in the ACU Championship, because your position in the championship is your race number for the following season, and everyone wants the low numbers. The bikes move up into stage, and you'll hear the Pro Stockers get on those distinctive stutter boxes as they hold them on the first stage of the Revenant. And Graham Dance gets the whole shot and manages to hold that advantage right the way through to the finish. So that's Cole Rule's championship over. This is John Morton with the TNT Express Pro Stock machine, and he's racing Paul Willis. This will be an interesting race from the point of view that the previous weekend at the same track, when Paul Willis had problems with his bike, Mort was happy to lend him his bike to continue through the eliminations. So they're good mates. Paul Willis is also one of the 3 runners that can take the ACU Championship here. So once again, they're racing to the very end of the championship. Despite that slight hole shot at the start from Malt, Paul Willis goes through to take the win.